The Democrats are currently trying to push a bill that would add 4 new Supreme Court seats. This would give Joe Biden the ability to take over the Supreme Court and then create a complete Democrat government. Likely not going to happen. But it's what they're trying to do, and they are being aided by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is staging a protest outside of the Supreme Court, mostly about abortion issues. And the big news is that she may have been arrested. I say may have because we don't know for sure. Many people are reporting that Ocasio-Cortez has been arrested. Some have said detained. Some have said escorted away. There's one photo showing a group of people just kind of standing around waiting for instructions. So I don't believe they've been arrested, though they could have been. What you got to understand about getting arrested is you don't always get handcuffed. You don't always get thrown into a car. They might come and say you've been arrested. Whether or not we process you is different. Detained is like, we're investigating something. Arrested is, we're actually convinced you did something. And then processed is, now you're going through the system to face charges for that thing you did. AOC was led away, but here's the funny part of the story. AOC pretended she was handcuffed. It's the weirdest thing. She puts her hands behind her back as she's being walked away, and people on Twitter believe she was handcuffed. She wasn't. Guy had her arm and he walked with her. And then eventually she takes her arm from behind her back and raises her fist. But well after, photos emerged showing her with her hands behind her back like she was handcuffed. This lady, I swear, it's all a photo op, isn't it? From the fist pump to the fake hands behind the fake handcuffs. It's so that the photos can come out and look at that smile on her face. Now, I'd love to get a shout out to the officer making the escort, detainment or otherwise, because he looks just like Siraj Hashmi. You guys know Siraj, we've had him on the show several times on IRL. And it just, I'm sorry, when I saw the photo, I was like, it looks like Siraj is arresting AOC, which is just, what a fun and funny day. Now, here's what the Democrats are currently up to. They want to pack the Supreme Court. They want to change the rules of the game because they've lost in that regard. I mean, look, this country is already on a fragile setting. The last thing we need is for them to just take a sledgehammer to it. But sure, they're trying to. I'm not convinced it'll actually happen, but that's their plan, I suppose. Now we have one group called Shut Down DC, apparently offering bounties on the locations of Supreme Court justices. And that's okay, I guess. AOC's protests are okay. It's a 2-tiered justice system, my friends, because you may have heard the news last night. We talked about it on IRL. The people who were illegally inside the Capitol building associated with Stephen Colbert, well, they face no charges. Yet the people who walked in confused on January 6th, there's one 69-year-old woman with cancer getting 2 months because she stood inside the building. That's it. It is a 2-tiered justice system. AOC is fake. This is what she does. I will show you the photo. Well, you saw in the thumbnail, probably. AOC pretending that she's been handcuffed. Well, I tell you this. The American people aren't falling for it anymore. Some are, but they're starting to wake up. And it's not just because AOC poorly fakes being handcuffed or things like that. It's because it doesn't impact their lives. It's because regular people are like, dude, I need gas. Now, here's the best part. The Democrats have been losing. They've been losing Latino voters. And now in Texas, a Democrat hired a blogger who referred to a Latina Republican as Miss Frijoles. No joke. He called her Miss Beans. Like literally, like, wow. Like almost a racial slur. I mean, maybe you can call it a racial slur. It's like referencing beans to this woman. And then he also called her another. I'll just have to read it. The Democrats are just off the rails. Axios put out a report showing the Democratic Party is more white and wealthier, and the Republicans are more diverse and blue collar than either had been in the past. Amazing. But let's get started by reading this story about AOC, and I want to show you the photos of her pretending to be handcuffed. Before we get started, check it out. This is timcast.com. Head over to timcast.com, my friends, to support our work because we have huge news. You may have heard from IRL and other segments. We have eliminated the use of PayPal for our memberships unless you're already grandfathered in. That is to say, if you go to timcast.com and you click sign up in the top right, you will be shown Parallel Economy. When you click become a member at any amount to get access to our exclusive shows, Parallel Economy, which is associated with Dan Bongino and Rumble, is the payment processor we now default to, with PayPal being removed from the website. Why? PayPal censors people. PayPal has removed people for unknown reasons, and it's a huge risk. Now, we have the good majority of people who are members at Timcast use PayPal because it was a default payment processor. Parallel Economy says they oppose censorship. Says they do. And you know what? That's better than PayPal. I'm not going to pretend they're perfect, but we will do what we can to build alternate ecosystems. So go to timcast.com, support our work by becoming a member, clicking sign up, and you will not just be supporting us. You'll be supporting Parallel Economy. Outside of Silicon Valley's purview, anti-censorship payment processing. You'll be supporting Rumble, the video infrastructure we use for the website, anti-censorship video services. Support all of these companies who are saying we believe in free speech, and support Timcast producing this content. And also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share this video if you like it. Here's the story. Breaking: multiple members of Congress, including AOC, detained over pro-abortion demonstration outside of SCOTUS. Multiple members of Congress, including AOC, have been detained by Capitol Police for blocking traffic outside the Supreme Court in a pro-abortion demonstration. Others who have reportedly been arrested or detained include Rep. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Andy Levin, Cori Bush, and several others. So, seems we got the full squad getting detained. Now, they could be arrested. We're not entirely sure. It is currently unclear if arrests have been made or if the protest was simply broken up. So we can see a bunch of photos and videos. Many on social media were quick to point out that it appeared Rep. AOC was only pretending to be handcuffed while being escorted away from the protest. Benny Johnson says, LOL, is AOC pretending to be handcuffed? Yes. Let me show you this. So here's her with their hands behind her back, right? And the cops carrying her forward. And then you can see when it turns, tain't nothing there. Let me see if I can pull up this. So we've got this video. Let's jump over here. We've got another shot where you can see her with her hands behind her back. And let's see if here's another one. Benny Johnson calling her out. There it is. A clear photograph. This is Gabe Ferris. I don't know who he is. ABC Politics. Showing a photo of AOC holding her hands behind her back. From the front, it looks like she's being arrested. Now, of course, all of the AOC stands are going to be like, she was just carrying her hands behind her back. She wasn't faking being handcuffed. Okay, well, sure. Why do it? Here's one Twitter user who said, wait, what? Is that our Congresswoman AOC that is with the police handcuffed? Because they protested in front of the Supreme Court? Is that not allowed? I don't get it. First Amendment right. How come they are arrested? Blocking traffic. She's not handcuffed. She did it for a photo op. Now, shout out to Officer Siraj Hashmi Jr. or whatever. I tweeted in response to Stephen L. Miller, is that Siraj Hashmi arresting AOC? And then he posted a meme of himself. This is how I win. Dude, the cop right there looks just like Siraj. Anyway, a side note, many of you probably don't know who he is. Whatever, you get the point. I've got new information coming from the Timcast newsroom in real time saying that it appears they are being arrested. So still a little preliminary. Arrest doesn't mean charged. We will see how this plays out. And often it's like a slap on the wrist. They're going to pick her up. They're going to carry her away and they're going to be like, you've been arrested. You get a summons. They're going to say you're excused, whatever. We don't care. But let's talk about what's currently happening in this country and what this really means. AOC tells abortion advocates to escalate protests. All right, let's talk about January 6th, my friends. Jamie Raskin, a Democrat from Maryland whose office is like, 15 or 20 minutes away from here, who represents several of my employees, lied about me by including an image, a video of me reading a Fox News report. You probably heard me talk about it. They argue that I was calling for Trump supporters to go to D.C. on the 6th for a wild protest. I never told anyone to do anything. I never do. Other than support my work and stand up for yourself, speak up. I tell people to avoid violence, but I don't tell people to go on January 6th to do anything. Oh, but that's wrong. That's me encouraging or promoting. Okay, well, let me put it this way. Even if anyone told people to go to D.C., they didn't tell them to engage in violence. Some people may have. That's not my point. My point is, if you tell someone, hey, we should protest for our rights, and then someone there gets violent, you didn't tell them to do that. You didn't incite them. AOC is telling abortion advocates to escalate protests. The double standard. They'll smear me for reading the news AOC can overtly tell people to escalate violence. Well, they don't blame her for the person trying to literally kill Brett Kavanaugh. The Free Beacon says, Rep. AOC on Friday joined protesters outside the Supreme Court to call the institution illegitimate and urge supporters into the streets to fight for abortion. Pro-life and pro-abortion activists gathered outside the court. So this was June 24th. Okay, you get my point. She actively told people to escalate. All right. Well, here's the escalation of illegal activity. Group offering bounties for Supreme Court justice locations want to shut down congressional baseball game. They don't deserve peace. See, now you're bordering on the overtly illegal. Well, but AOC told them to do it. She's insurrecting. Look, the people who rioted at the Capitol, not good people. I don't like any of that stuff. The people who bumbled their way in like idiots, slap on the wrist. How about that? But the people who worked for Colbert who did that, no charges. AOC is allowed to incite, no hearings. The Republicans are pathetic. You know, maybe I'll take that back if they win. And when they do, assuming they do, they hold hearings on May 29th. Or they hold hearings about January 6th. I'd love to see that and show the inverse of what really happened. Mediaite reports group offering bounties to Supreme Court justices want to shut down the congressional baseball game. They say Shut Down DC is the group behind the recent protest of Justice Brett Kavanaugh, forcing him to leave a restaurant as protesters swarmed outside. They are protesting SCOTUS' recent overturning of Roe v. Wade. We disrupted Brett Kavanaugh's steak dinner, and we will disrupt the congressional baseball game. The monsters tearing apart our country deserve no peace. The group tweeted this week. With enough protesters, they added, they could shut the whole thing down. If hundreds of us turn out to the congressional baseball game this month and risk arrest, there's a real chance we could shut the whole thing down. Sign up to be there. That's interesting. Telling people to engage in activities that result in arrest is incitement to illegal activity. Nothing is going to happen to these people. Let's just be honest. Shut Down DC's call to disrupt the congressional baseball game comes just 5 years after a gunman targeted a game and shot Rep. Steve Scalise, as well as others, including Capitol Police Officer Crystal Griner, lobbyist Matt Mika, and congressional aide Zach Barth. Crazy. Wow. The group's bounties offer, which is a program through which they offer payments for the live locations of conservative justices, also followed a man recently being arrested outside the home of Kavanaugh. The man told police he planned on assassinating the judge in protest of his politics. So we're now getting a live update from the Timcast newsroom. Ayanna Pressley's office has confirmed her arrest. So it looks like there is an arrest there. Yeah. So it looks like they were arrested. On the website linked to by Shutdown DC for their latest protest plans, they vowed to converge en masse on the congressional baseball game. So at what point will they be held accountable for the escalation? Shutdown DC said the congressional baseball game protest is to push for major climate legislation on August 5th. Well, right now what we're seeing is protests about abortion. And I think Timcast News officially has the update in real time. We have changed the language. They were arrested, according to the office of at least Ayanna Pressley. So it looks like it is an official arrest. Do you expect there to be a single standard for committing crimes? No, and I'll tell you why. DC is full of Democrat voters. A DC jury will not convict people who are for their side. That's how dangerous things are getting in this country. From timcast.com. Colbert staffers arrested for unlawful entry at Capitol will not be prosecuted. This is a statement about the decision not to move forward with charges. U.S. Attorney's Office said they do not think they could prove guilt. Okay. Then why are they prosecuting January 6 protesters? They think they can. Apparently, it's the same office that's prosecuting. Remarkable. It's the Capitol complex. Of course, it's the same jurisdiction. Double standards, my friend. Which is why we come to the next big story. Something I think is substantially more relevant. House Democrats tout bill to add 4 seats to the Supreme Court. This would be the destruction of this country. If the Democrats steamroll through breaking the filibuster and try and pack the court, I mean, that's it. State against state, just absolute insanity. We'll talk about abortion in a second. Let me read this and I'll tell you the scenario for civil war. Tim Pool said it again. I say it like every video these days, huh? A group of House Democrats called for legislation on Monday that would add 4 seats to the Supreme Court, lamenting an ultra right-wing branch that just overturned Roe v. Wade decision on abortion rights. The 8 lawmakers cited recent Supreme Court decisions that rolled back Miranda rights throughout New York gun control law and allowed religion to surface in schools, as well as the Dobbs v. Jackson women's health decision that overturned the right to abortion in Roe, in saying there was a need to add new justices to the court. Rep. Hank Johnson, the lead sponsor of the 2021 Judiciary Act, called the current makeup a Supreme Court at crisis with itself and with our democracy, where basic freedoms are under assault from the 6-3 conservative supermajority on the bench. The Supreme Court isn't susceptible to the popular vote by way of Congress, Johnson said, and has used that fact to amass power. No, it hasn't. Donald Trump won. And with the Senate and with Trump, they confirmed 3 justices. That's how it works. If the president is a Democrat and he tries to appoint a Supreme Court justice, but the Senate is Republican, they're going to reject it. You need a synchronized Senate and presidency to bring in justices. Trump got 3. Ruth Bader Ginsburg could have retired under Obama, but she didn't do it. And then it would have been 5-4. In fact, when it came to overturning Roe v. Wade, it would have been 5-4 to keep Roe v. Wade. So let me tell you where this brings us. The Democrats are willing to gut the system for power. This is insane. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Republicans are likely to do something similar, but they didn't gut the system to get the Supreme Court. They won. Mitch McConnell played dirty, in a sense. You know, the Democrats are mad that Mitch McConnell wouldn't confirm Garland to the Supreme Court when Obama nominated him. And his argument was, what's the point? The Republicans are going to vote against him. So why bother having the hearing? He's not completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure several Republicans would have just voted for him anyway. Well, then, this is very much McConnell's victory when it comes to Roe v. Wade. So there's pros and there's cons. And the cons do come from the overturning of Roe v. Wade. When Texas bans abortion, here's the scenario. There's a GOP bill right now that would extend child support to women as soon as they're pregnant. There was an attempt in Louisiana, I believe it was Louisiana, to say that a fetus being aborted was homicide. Let's play that game. A woman in Texas got pulled over in the HOV lane, high occupancy vehicle, saying she was pregnant. Counts as 2 people. Can't have it both ways, right? Okay. A man and a woman are in a relationship in Texas. They hook up. She gets pregnant. She didn't want to be pregnant. The guy does want her to be pregnant. In fact, the guy really likes her. In fact, wants to marry her. She doesn't want to get married to this guy. She doesn't want to have a kid. Can't get an abortion in Texas for no reason. So she decides to flee the state to Colorado. The man goes to the state and says, citing the HOV claim, maybe there's precedent, this woman has kidnapped my child and seeks to murder it. Now that's where things get scary. Let's pause and take a look at a scenario involving a child born. A child is born. The next day, the woman takes the baby from the hospital without notifying the father, gets in the car and drives to another state, saying outright she is going to murder that baby. She is seeking the assistance to kill it. What would happen? I mean, there would be a statewide manhunt in Colorado. Texas would offer to send police forces, investigative forces to find her. The feds would be involved. But now something interesting happens. You know, they'd try and stop her, and they'd charge her with murder if she did it. But what if she's 8 months, 2 weeks pregnant? Colorado has no restrictions on abortion. She flees. She says, we've got to get there and abort this baby that's 8.5 weeks and totally viable before it's too late, before it's born, and then I'm a murderer. Oh, no. What happens then when that dad says, help, police, she kidnapped my child who's about to be born. Stop her from killing it. She's going to kill it. Colorado says the law allows it. Texas says our law doesn't. She's a resident of Texas who fled the state to commit a crime. And they're going to say, you have no jurisdiction here. You can't come and enforce the law. Then they go to the feds. Feds do something about it. The feds say it's illegal to have an abortion in Colorado. We're not intervening. Then what? Does that man just sit back while his child gets killed in Colorado? Or does something really crazy happen? Now, look, there's a viral video of a man dropping to his knees, screaming and crying, please don't kill my child, as the woman walks into an abortion clinic. Now, that man knows she's legally allowed to do it. She's going to. But what if the law says she can't? And the man says, the law is on my side. And he wants to save his child. That's where things get crazy. Now, that is only because Roe v. Wade was overturned. If Roe v. Wade stayed intact and these states couldn't ban it outright, that one would just get an abortion in Texas. Now, all these states were starting to pass laws regardless. And this is why I think the erosion is irrespective of what's happening with the Supreme Court. A bunch of states started enacting abortion restrictions, heartbeat bills. And that's how this all came to be. It was Mississippi, I believe, where they said, you cannot restrict abortion at 11 weeks or whatever. I think it was 11. And they said, yeah, we can. The lawsuit escalated. And the Supreme Court said, you know what? They can ban it outright if they want. A huge misstep. But I suppose the idea from the left was they're chipping away at the law as it is. We have to challenge it. And many people said, if you challenge us and go to the courts, you will get Roe v. Wade overturned. Initially, I didn't believe it was going to happen. And then we got the leaked ruling, and I was like, there's no way. It's just so crazy. And then it happened. I think it's possible. I think it's absolutely possible. It's not an issue for the American voter. It's an issue for the catalyst to spark conflict. What will the Texas state troopers, Rangers, National Guard do when a man's child is kidnapped and is about to be murdered? That's crazy. That dad might just get a posse together and say, we're going to get that kid back. The law is on our side. She wasn't allowed to do it. I mean, you might be a guy in Texas thinking, I'm here because if I'm with a woman, she can't kill my child. And then she flees to do it. Now, women, of course, would say she's allowed to. Like I should say the left is going to say she's allowed to. I'm not saying it's not a moral judgment. It's a statement that if you have a man who rejects it and a woman who supports it, and the woman tries to do it, the dude's going to try and stop her because he knows the law in Texas is on his side and she fled the law. What happens if she does it? And now she's wanted for murder in Texas. Then what? Does Texas just say, well, she committed a murder as per our laws, but no, we're not going to do anything about it? I have no idea, man. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I know that if you look at our story with the swattings, the death threats, and the evidence accumulated by local departments already, the feds either aren't involved at all. Like, I got to be honest, with everything that's happened to us, I think there's more than enough information available to law enforcement to have stopped the swattings, and the feds just haven't done it. Or maybe they did. You know, this is the thing. I feel like nothing's happening, but I'd feel really bad to find out they're working really hard behind the scenes to stop it. So we'll see. I have my criticisms of the feds when it comes to like garage pull ropes and that stuff, but I have seen them do some things where I'm like, well, like maybe we should let them do their jobs and cross our fingers. I don't know. I've met people who've worked with and for the FBI in the past. What I've been told by a lot of people in the U.S. government agencies is that it's the same thing as the real world. It's a culture war. Some people are pro-Trump, some people aren't. And that's it. The problem is the pro-Trump people won't speak up, and thus the anti-Trump people and the woke are doing whatever they want, even in, say, the FBI. So we'll see, I suppose. But what do the American people think? Over at Gallup, something I've shown before, but it's always fun to pop up. Percentage of Americans mentioning economic issues as the nation's most important problem, 40%. So when AOC pretends to get handcuffed in front of the Supreme Court, they're doing nothing. Nothing. They're not gaining votes. They're riling up their voters. When we take a look at the share of people who think abortion is the top issue, it is 1% in June. 1% of people. Democrats, what are you doing? Other than just resigning to defeat, I guess. Here's what I think. I think they know they're not going to convince anybody. So they're like, can we animate the people who already agree with us? This is how we do it. All right, well, sure. I don't think it's going to be effective for them, but try, I guess. They got to do something. Meanwhile, you know what? You hate to see it, Democrats. What has happened? NBC News reports Miss Frijoles attack Royals Latino heavy congressional race in Texas. Wow. Democratic Rep Vincent Gonzalez is distancing himself from a blogger he paid who is using bigoted language to describe GOP opponent Rep Mayra Flores. Oh, no. It's Mayra Flores is a Republican. She won in a Democrat district. And now she's being called Miss Frijoles and a cotton-picking liar, prompting a wave of denunciations by Democrats. The language first surfaced 3 days after Gonzalez's campaign wrote a $1,200 check to McHale Report blog June 24th for advertising services, according to the Democrats' Federal Election Commission finance report. But the blog, which is called Miss Flores, Miss Frijoles, 21 times since then, has not published any Gonzalez ads. Interesting. Flores, in a Twitter post Monday, accused the Gonzalez campaign of paying a local blogger to run hateful and racist ads against me. Welcome to 2022, ladies and gentlemen, where the Democrats are the party of the white elites paying people to write racist blogs against Latinos who have flipped and become Republican in places like the Rio Grande Valley and in Miami, of all places, turning a safe Democrat district in Miami to a Republican district. How in the... What? And then this dude hires a guy who calls her Miss Frijoles? What is going on? I'll tell you. Democrats have always been racist. They've always been some kind of racist. Now, there are many Democrats who weren't racist, but those people probably left. And that's what's happening. Since 2016, we've seen that the Democratic Party has become the party of the elites. Vox reported it. Now Axios is reporting it. It is a bunch of upper class, white, waspy racists. And so you get like the Beto O'Rourke's. I'm a white Irish guy, but I call myself Beto. Okay, dude. This is what your party is doing. Amazing. Of course, the congressman is against referring to Rep. Flores as Miss Frijoles or a cotton-picking liar. Gonzalez's campaign manager, Colin Steele, wrote in a text message to NBC News, echoing the state Democratic Party chair and other Texas Democrats who denounced the language as well. But McHale would not back down. I am a liberal Democrat, and it's war against the Republican. I'm going to be merciless with her. How does it help you to refer to a Latina woman who won in a historically Democrat district as Miss Frijoles? Now, I don't eat a whole lot of frijoles, but I do love me some chicken fajita. I mean, just let's be real. You guys know I've been doing the keto thing, right? When you get chicken, peppers, onions, and rice and beans, I don't eat a whole lot of the rice and beans, but those chicken and veggies, so healthy. I think actually I'm going to go get some frijoles after this. That sounds really good, actually. There's a Mexican restaurant called Mi Degollado out here in the Harpers Ferry, Charlestown area. Makes some of the best fajitas I have ever had. No joke. It comes out sizzling hot. They put it down. Don't touch. Very hot. Muy caliente. That's the right word, right? Caliente. So delicious. Some of the best guacamole as well. You know, look, I actually take more offense to the insult to frijoles over the politics. Don't you disparage fried beans or black beans. No, I'm kidding. But I actually probably will go get fajitas. That sounds pretty good. But this is just amazing that the Democratic Party keeps devolving into this. So AOC wants to come out and be like this, that, or otherwise. And it's like, dude, lady, this is what's happening with your party. They are losing Latino voters. But by all means, that's what you're going to do, right? Check this out. From Politico. Latino Democrats vent their fury after a foreboding special election loss in Texas. Republicans picked up the district in the Rio Grande Valley just a few years ago that was giving Democrats comfortable double-digit margins. It says, vote here, aquí. Okay. Well, it says aquí, but it doesn't, I guess vote is fine. Like people who speak Spanish will understand what vote means. But it's got to say vote here. What is it, like votar aquí? I don't speak Spanish. I speak enough to like buy frijoles, I guess. I wonder if this will hold up in November, this special district, because I mentioned it before that it's a special election is very, very esoteric, and Republicans tend to read the news, Democrats don't. So it may flip back to Democrat. That's a reality. Do what you can, Ms. Flores, while you can, because it may become Democrat once again, but we will see. In the meantime, the one thing that I want to point out as we wrap everything up, it's the economy, stupid. Gallup shows it's the economy. Why are you settling down on issues that are not popular? No term limit abortion, no viability restrictions. Yo, that's kind of crazy. Right now, you've got the Admiral Rachel Levine talking about sex change operations for children. That's what the Democratic Party's offering up. So let me just stress this. When your parents, when your friends, and your families say, no, Tim's wrong or crazy, and they refuse to watch, you can do one of two things. You can send them that viral video Libs of TikTok posted it a while ago from Pride, where an old man in tidy whities twerks for a little girl and say, this is what we're talking about. Are you okay with that? Because if you are, just let me know. Is that what Democrats want? They pretend like it's not happening. They refuse to watch the news. Fine. Show them what's happening with these articles. Don't even argue. Just show them the article and be like, it's Politico. It's showing that the Rio Grande Valley's turned Republican. Ask them why they think it's happening. Regular people don't care about these issues. Show them the video of, I think the woman's name is Kathy Tran in Virginia, saying abortion to the day, to the point the woman is giving birth. Like literally said, the woman could be giving birth at that moment and you could abort, you could kill the baby. That's called a partial birth abortion. And they argue it doesn't exist when a woman in Virginia literally argued for it to happen. No restrictions. In Colorado, there's no restrictions. I don't even think the Colorado bill says after it's born, which is where things get really, really crazy. I'm a traditional liberal and former Democrat for the most part. I think it's unfair to say former Democrat because I was never a diehard, Democrats. I never really cared all that much. I did vote for Obama in 2008. It's funny because there's this like weird like Ecuadorian or Chilean article that says I voted for Ron Paul. And I think maybe they just misconstrued what I said. Something about like the Ron Paul era got me more politically active and I supported him because he's a libertarian who said he'd leave me alone. But I voted for Barack Obama. Ron Paul was not the candidate. But so like, yeah, I voted for Obama. Not only the first time, anti-war stuff. And then comes around a second term and I was like, never going to happen. And 2016. So look, I used to be where the Democrats were, I guess, and then they went nuts. There is nothing that will ever get me to agree with giving children sex change surgery. Sorry, never gonna happen. Children? Nope. And that's where they're at. So you don't need to tweet bombastic things. You don't need to try and convince me. You've convinced me. But I wonder if that's the real issue. Democrats know they're not going to say anything that will change my mind. They know they're giving sex changes to children, and they know regular people, moderates like me, don't agree with it. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks, I'm assuming he's for it because he's like, you're not a moderate, you're right wing. And I'm like, okay, so you think that like anybody who opposes that is like right wing? So you're on the left, you must support it, I guess. I don't know what else he's talking about. But this is what the Democrats have become. So for the time being, AOC can pretend to do whatever she wants, fake being handcuffed. It's all one big grift, isn't it? Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.